everyone, and welcome back to Storytime. I'm romance author Kat Banks, and today I'll be reading one of my original short stories. This story was developed on the writing prompt, "A unicorn appears outside your window. What happens next?" And so I hope you enjoy it. Princess on a Whim. Nora stared at the wine glass she had just cleaned. It sat in the dish rack, upside down and empty, just how she felt. She headed to her bedroom. Foregoing the routine of getting ready, she flopped into her bed, leggings and all. She glanced around her room, illuminated by the light of the full moon shining through her window. "That explains a lot," she said to herself. Nora was never one to believe in superstition, but blaming the day's events on the bright orb in the night sky was easier than accepting the truth. The curtains blew in the breeze, and a chill filled the room. "That's odd," Nora said aloud to no one. Her window was not supposed to be open. Crawling out of bed, Nora sauntered to the offending window. She frowned as she found it to be shut and locked, just how it should be. Nora was about to turn back to her bed when she spotted a prominent shadowy figure off in the distance, making her gasp. She looked again, but saw nothing. She headed back to bed and stared at the ceiling. Today had been a day to end all days. Nora had worked hard for the promotion. She had put in extra hours, generated report after report, showing how her ideas would make the company more money and ease the workload. Her plan was sound, but her boss gave the promotion to the newest employee, a man, before even hearing what Nora had to say. Rumor had it Colin had taken Mr. Stencoach to the country club where his wife's family were members, and that golf outing had sealed the deal. Nora was not expecting to walk in this morning and be assigned her own workload, but there it was. Her well-thought-out plans and research looked up at her in black and white from the new program her boss just doled out. Except the name on it was Colin's, not hers. Having her work stolen was one thing, but the way it happened set Nora's soul on fire. A month ago, on a late Friday afternoon, Nora stopped for a drink at the hole-in-the-wall bar on the corner by her office. She'd had a rough day, and the muscle-bound bartender that liked to wear form-fitting shirts was easy on the eyes. "Whoa, that one is on me. Looks like you could use a break," the handsome man had said about her filling wine glass as he slid onto the stool next to her. "Thanks, I sure could," she'd replied as she glanced up to catch a wink from the bartender. At the time, Colin was a friendly stranger who'd bought Nora a drink and asked what made her day so bad. She hadn't thought anything of it when he flirted and asked her all about her work. She'd thought less about his questions when she took him home. Imagine her surprise the following Monday morning when Colin showed up at her office, taking a desk across the hall from hers and wearing a wedding band. Nora couldn't cause a scene in the middle of her office. All she could do was shoot daggers from her eyes until she could corner him by the water cooler. "What is going on?" she demanded. "Hey, I'm Colin. I'm new here," he had said, offering his hand to shake as if that same hand hadn't learned every curve of her just 3 nights ago. "Don't give me that. You know what we just did," Nora snapped at him. "Whoa, lady, I don't know what your intentions are, but I'm a happily married man and this is a place of business," Colin had said, loud enough to attract the attention of their boss, who came out to investigate. "What's going on here, guys?" Mr. Stencoach had asked, his eyebrows raised. "Nothing, sir. I was just welcoming Colin to the team," Nora assured her boss. "It was just a friendly hello, new guy. I'm not sure what you were thinking," she'd said back to Colin before returning to her desk, more confused than ever. Nora could have turned Colin in. She'd saved the work on her computer with dates of backups. But then Nora would have had to confess how Colin got the information. She'd rather suck it up than tell her boss how she'd brought a married man home she'd just met from a bar. Tears welled up in Nora's eyes as she tossed and turned in her bed. She was one of 3 women who worked in the corporate office of the national brand, and the only woman on the sales team. She'd impressed Stencoach with her college internship in his office. He'd promised to take care of her. Little did Nora know, taking care of the little lady meant just giving her a job. He had no intention of her advancing in the company. She was just a placeholder. Nora wanted more. She wanted a title. She wanted her work to be recognized. She wanted to move up the ladder rungs of her career, and she wanted to earn it through hard work and dedication. The tears started to spill over, and Nora cursed herself for crying over her situation. She must just be overtired, she thought. Nora stared up at the ceiling while the tears stained her cheeks. Her vision was blurry, but she saw a shadow at the window again. "I must be losing my mind," she said, and flipped onto her side, putting her back to the window. Tap, tap, tap came from the window. "Okay, I'm not seeing and hearing things," Nora said as she got up. Nora gasped when she pulled back the sheer curtain and came face to face with a large white horse on the other side of the window. She could see the mare's eyes, of a rich coffee color, and her white snout. From behind her head, she could see the horse was large, larger than any horse she'd ever seen. "How did you knock on my window?" Nora asked, studying the beast. It was then the horse backed up. Nora looked down to her fur-colored hooves and white tresses like a Clydesdale, up her strong legs, noting her snow-white mane and tail, her large frame, and then, when she got to the top of the horse's head, she saw it. A horn. "Where did you come from?" Nora asked the horse. "How did you get here? How am I supposed to get you home? I wonder where your home is. I don't suppose they microchip unicorns?" "This is ridiculous. Why am I talking to a horse?" Nora said to herself. "This is a dream. I'm going to go outside, and there won't be anything in my yard." Nora threw on her fuzzy slippers and threw a hoodie over her tank top. She ventured out the back door to the wall her bedroom was on. The magnificent beast was still there. "Where did you come from?" Nora asked again, dumbfounded by how her night was turning out. The horse neighed and pawed the ground. Nora didn't get the impression this movement was threatening. It was more impatient. The animal seemed to be asking, "Why aren't you over here yet?" Nora approached the animal cautiously, as to not startle either of them. She paced around the animal, studying her features for what seemed like the 100th time. Nora suddenly found a giant white horse head on her shoulder. She giggled and patted the unicorn's nose. Then she couldn't resist. She reached up and touched the horn. The animal bent her head forward, allowing Nora to inspect her horn closer. Nora ran her fingers along the grooves etched into it, then put her finger on the tip, discovering a unicorn's horn is very sharp. "Ouch!" she cried, sucking her bleeding finger into her mouth. "This better not need stitches. No one is going to believe me how I got it," Nora scolded the unicorn. Luckily, her finger stopped bleeding quickly. "Now how do I get you home?" Nora asked again. The animal laid down, tucking her feet underneath her. Nora reached out and wove her fingers through the unicorn's silky mane. The animal nudged her head, trying to get Nora to climb on her back. "You want me to sit on your back?" Nora asked. The horse let out a soft neigh and a snort. "Well, it looks like 7-year-old me is finally getting her wish," Nora said as she climbed on the animal's back. The second Nora's legs landed in riding position, the unicorn took off. Nora gripped onto the animal's horn with everything she had and screamed. The majestic beast raced around houses and landscaping. Nora was impressed until she realized they were heading to the forest at the back of her subdivision. Not only were they headed to the forest, but there was no way they were going to fit under the branches of the trees that were coming closer and closer. Unicorn? You're gonna get us killed, Nora said. The animal kept running. Heel, Nora commanded. The animal kept running. Whoa, Nora said. The animal kept running. Stop, Nora yelled. The animal kept running. The trees were just in front of them. No, 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 Nora yelled and squeezed her eyes shut. She saw the bright flash of light through her eyelids. Nora opened her eyes, and suddenly it was daytime. She looked around and realized she had no idea where they were. Are we dead? Nora asked the unicorn, who was still running. The animal snorted. Nora could see a town in the distance, the unicorn running toward it. As they reached the outskirts, there was a farmer's market going on. The unicorn was about to run through it. Whoa, Nellie! Shouted a male voice. The unicorn came to a sudden stop. Nora didn't. Nora let out a yell as she flew off the unicorn's back. Oof, she said, landing in someone's arms. Oh my gosh, are you okay? The man asked, gently setting Nora down. I think I am very far from okay, Nora admitted, her legs shaking. The man grabbed a hold of her again to keep her steady. Thanks. Nice catch, Nora praised him. The man studied her. His gaze went from the messy bun piling her dark hair on top of her head to her puffy eyes, over her hoodie, tank top, and leggings, and landing on her pink fuzzy slippers. You're not from around here, are you? He observed. No, I'm not even sure where here is, Nora confessed. Pandoc Island, the man said, gesturing his arms wide at the land. Where are you from? He asked with furrowed brows. Connecticut? Nora said, unsure of herself. I've never heard of Pandoc Island. Well, we're not quite the Boondocks, but we're not really around anything else. And there's always pancakes somewhere. We're a happy people, he explained. Pancakes? Nora questioned. Pancakes make happiness? Have you ever seen anyone not happy eating pancakes? He asked. Nora considered his question for a moment. Nope, can't say I have. Nora took a second to study her companion. The man was tall and had broad shoulders. She could tell when he caught her he was in great physical shape. His dark hair was longer, the front wisps reaching his chin, and it appeared he had a habit of running his hands through it. His dark eyes were warm and welcoming, yet there was trouble behind them. Maybe he needed pancakes. He smiled at her, and his smile was perfect and sincere. He might just be the most attractive man Nora has ever seen. They started to walk toward the town. Could you perhaps tell me how I got here? Nora asked. 1 minute I was in my bed, trying to go to sleep. The next thing I know, there is a unicorn outside my window who urged me to climb on her and brought me here. Nellie has a habit of wandering off, the man said. She thought you made a great souvenir. Nellie? Nora asked. Yes, that's her name, he said, grabbing a carrot from a vegetable stand and offering it to the unicorn. Nellie gladly accepted the treat and trotted away. That's why I yelled, "Whoa, Nellie," to get her to stop, the man explained. Ah, Nora gave her understanding. Where I come from, "Whoa, Nellie" is a phrase used in surprise. The man chuckled. I assure you, I didn't name my unicorn in surprise. Wait, how do you know what the Boondocks are, but you don't know "Whoa, Nellie"? Nora asked. You are not our first visitor from the world, he said. The world? What is the world? Nora asked. And who exactly are you? My name is Ivan, he said, and you have reached what seems to be another realm. Nora stopped in her tracks. What? She asked, amusement in her voice. At the edge of the island, there is a force field. Nellie can travel through it. On the other side is where you came from. Wait. Nellie can travel through it. Did she not know whether or not I could? Nora asked. She's usually right about these things, Ivan said, continuing to walk. Nora jogged in her fuzzy slippers to catch up. Usually? Did that mean she didn't know for sure? Well, it appeared to work. Here you are, whoever you are, he said. Oh, I'm Nora. My name is Nora, she explained. It's delighted to meet you, Nora, Ivan said with a big sweeping bow that made Nora giggle. Are unicorns natural around here? Nora asked, looking around. Yes, Ivan confirmed. So, what are you, like a wizard or something? Ha! I wish, Ivan said. No, the wizards live on the other side of the island. Nora looked at Ivan to see if he was kidding, but she just nodded when he didn't laugh. So, is Nellie going to take me home? Nora asked. You want to leave already? Normally worlders want to stay forever, Ivan questioned. Nora looked down at her outfit, pulling on her hoodie and glancing down at her fuzzy slippers. I don't think I'm quite dressed to stay, and I have work in the morning, she said. Then it stuck in her head what Ivan said. Wait, did you say there are more people here where I'm from? Of course, Ivan explained. So what, they chose to stay or they couldn't return? Nora's anxiety was coming in full force. Oh, they chose, Ivan said. Worlders usually find something, or sometimes someone, that makes them want to stay. They offer us their knowledge that has brought our community light years ahead of where we were, so we allow it. I see, Nora said, looking around. She had to admit, the land was beautiful. Stone buildings and shelters were surrounded by rolling hills of green and meadows of wildflowers. The market offered fruits, vegetables, baked delicacies, and several stands of trinkets. Off in the distance, Nora spotted a whole herd of unicorns led by Nellie herself. Nowhere in her field of vision did she note a series of skyscrapers like where she worked. Okay, I'll stay for a tour, Nora agreed. Excellent, it will be my pleasure, Ivan replied with a smile that warmed Nora's heart. It had been a while since Nora had seen a sincere smile from a man. The two walked as Ivan outlined the history of everything they saw. Nora was fascinated, but eventually she had to sit down. Pink fuzzy slippers were not meant to be hiking boots, Nora explained, rubbing one of her feet. Of course, we should have ridden. My apologies, Ivan offered before whistling loudly. Nellie and another white unicorn answered his whistle. Nellie is the most accommodating of the bunch. Climb back up on her, Ivan instructed. Okay, but only if she promises not to throw me off again, Nora replied as the animal laid down. Nora climbed up on Nellie's back, and once again they were off, but at the pace of a leisurely stroll. Nora and Ivan talked freely, sharing jokes. Ivan answered all of Nora's hundreds of questions. He never belittled her, as the men at work do. Ivan was interested in everything she had to say, asked his own questions, and wanted her opinion on every topic they discussed. He treated her like an equal. Nora had to admit she could get used to this place. She's never done things on a whim, always worried about her security and responsibilities. She never fought for herself. She just always accepted what was given to her, even when it was less than she deserved. Even now, she was having a great time with a handsome man, but she couldn't fully enjoy it because she had an internal struggle, knowing she should be home, in bed, and get a healthy amount of rest before the next day at her dead-end job. Nora looked up and saw a rainbow. Oh, is there a leprechaun with a pot of gold at the end of that? She asked jokingly. I don't think so, Ivan replied. Last I heard, Seamus was off visiting family. Nora glanced at Ivan, again waiting for the punchline, but none came. Unicorns, wizards, and leprechauns, she mumbled to herself. This must be a dream. They reached one of the shores of the island. Nora looked out over the vast blue sea, and for the first time in a long time, she relaxed. Right up until there was a loud thud, and the air seemed to ripple in front of her. Nora glanced over at Ivan, who was shaking his head. "What was that?" she asked. Then, "Let me guess. Mermaids?" "Don't be silly," Ivan said. "Oh, right, because after learning of unicorns, wizards, leprechauns, and hidden islands, a mermaid existing would be ridiculous," Nora spat. "Oh, they exist," Ivan replied, "but they can get through the barrier. Whatever that was, did not." Nora's eyes widened as she looked from Ivan to the water. "Ivan, what would happen if I ran through the barrier on foot?" she asked. "Unaccompanied by one of us, you would make a loud thud," he replied. "So then I'm stuck here?" Nora asked. "Nora, I've very much enjoyed your company so far, but if you would like to leave at any time, Nellie will take you," Ivan replied. Nora studied the handsome man on the unicorn. His eyes were sincere. She looked around the island and had a feeling of serenity wash over her. When was the last time she felt at peace and had a man who enjoyed her company, just for being her? "I'd like to stay a while longer," Nora replied. Ivan flashed her a genuine smile. "Good, I'm glad." He looked down at the ground for a minute before speaking again. "There's this event thing this evening that I have to attend. I would like it if you came." "Event thing? What is an event thing?" Nora chuckled. "It's a party my father is hosting. The whole island will be there. It would give you the whole picture of what's here," Ivan replied. "I can't go to a party in a messy bun and fuzzy slippers," Nora countered. "I will take you to a boutique, and they will get you all set," Ivan replied. "That would be lovely, but I didn't exactly bring my wallet or any money," Nora spoke up. "No need. The shop owner will know the price is on me," Ivan replied. "That's really not necessary for you to do, unless money here works the opposite and ball gowns are cheap." At this point, Nora thought anything was possible. Ivan chuckled. "Don't worry about it. Any price is worth the continued pleasure of your company." "Oh, you mean like a date?" Nora asked. She couldn't help but notice the butterflies that seemed to awaken in her belly suddenly. "Unfortunately, my obligations this evening don't allow me to have a date. But I would send a car for you, and I would love for you to save me a dance," Ivan replied. Nora immediately felt let down. "Of course you can't have a date with a mere mortal when you're from magical fairyland." Ivan hung his head. This invitation was not going the way he wanted. "Nora, I promise everything will make sense later. Please, come this evening and dance with me." Everything about this situation seemed to scream to have Nellie take her home, but Nora had already come this far, and she had to admit her curiosity got the best of her. "All right, mysterious magical man, it's a non-date," Nora said, offering a handshake. Ivan took her hand and brought it to his lips, placing a gentle kiss on the back. Nora's butterflies returned. "Nellie, take her to Midge," Ivan instructed. "Tell her Ivan said Sapphire." "How is Nellie going to tell her anything?" Nora asked. Ivan snickered. "You, my love, you tell Midge Ivan said Sapphire. She will know what it means." Nora poised to voice a rebuttal, but Nellie took off, whisking her away. Nellie stopped in front of a small shop. The door immediately opened, and out came a petite older lady with curly gray hair, round cheeks, and a friendly smile. Nora liked her immediately. "Hello, my dear, I'm Midge," the woman said before turning to the unicorn. "Nellie, who have you brought me?" Nellie laid down, allowing Nora to climb off. "I'm Nora. Ivan sent me here for help for a party and said to tell you Sapphire?" The woman's eyes were as big as saucers. "Oh my, well yes, come on, we have work to do. she said, grabbing Nora by the wrist and pulling her into the shop. "Ladies, it came true! The prediction came true!" Midge yelled. "She's here!" A swarm of women gathered around Nora, each with a different function. One was taking her body measurements, one measured her foot, another took down her hair, and yet another was holding swatches up to her cheek. Nora was confused, but she had to admit it was nice to be fussed over. "What is this prediction?" she asked. "Oh, she doesn't know," Midge said. "Nora, love, where are you from?" "Connecticut," Nora replied. All the ladies gasped. Nora looked even more confused. Midge stepped forward and spoke up. When the prince was born, his parents were visited by an enchantress. She predicted, when the prince was fully ready to leave the land, to step in after his father's retirement, a woman from afar would be brought to him on his birthday. The woman is the only one the prince would find capable of ruling beside him as a partner and a spouse. She is said to arrive to him in blue. "Blue as in sapphires?" Norma looked around to all the women, who nodded. "Blue as in blue," Midge declared, pulling on Nora's royal blue hoodie. "So Ivan sent me here to fluff me up and be handed over to a prince? Like an arranged marriage? Is that what the party is for?" Nora couldn't ever remember feeling such anxiety. "Oh dear, the poor love is even more lost than we thought," Midge said to the other ladies, who looked at Nora with solemn expressions. "Tonight is the prince's birthday party. If you are brought here as the sapphire, we shall doll you up and send you on your way, for you and the prince to find your souls in each other's eyes and dance the night away," Midge said. All the women sighed with longing in their eyes. "Well, I'm not here to rule a country. I'm merely here because a unicorn appeared at my bedroom window and brought me here. Ivan said I could go home any time I want." Nora was gearing up to full-blown panic. "Love, of course you can. The marriage is consensual. No one is going to force you to do anything," Midge assured. "I don't know about this," Nora said. Something seemed not right. "Okay, forget about the prince," Midge said, making the rest of the ladies gasp. "Let's get you ready to party, and just go enjoy a night in Pandoc. Get to know the place. That's all we ask." "Why are you so on board with this? What's in it for you?" Nora asked Midge. "Besides the dress commission I'll make? We like when worlders come to see our humble little island. There's so much we can offer each other," Midge reported. Nora wasn't sure exactly what that meant, but thinking of the dress commission Midge would have, she planned to stick the price tag to Ivan with as much as she could. She took a deep breath and smiled. "Do your best, ladies," she said, holding her arms out. The women squealed in excitement as they surrounded Nora, measuring, adjusting, measuring again. Then they all ran into a back room, leaving Nora alone in the middle of the shop, more confused than ever. Nora started to wander around the shop. She sorted through racks of open-back dresses and stands of lightweight ballet-style shoes. But the surprise came when she got to the shelves of bottles lined along the wall. The labels read things like wing glitter, horn paint, magic dust, and wand polish. "Who are these ladies?" Nora muttered to herself. As if answering her question, a woman rushed into the shop and shouted for Midge. Nora eyed the woman, who looked frazzled. "Midge and the other ladies are in the back," she explained. "Of course. There's never a fairy available when you need her," the woman whined. Of course, the dress shop would be run by fairies. What else would she expect? Midge emerged from the back upon hearing the woman's frantic cries of her name. "Joni, what's happened?" she asked her. Joni pulled a shoe out of a bag and showed Midge its broken heel. "How will I ever attract the prince if I'm limping because one shoe has no heel?" "Of course, dear. Go and sit down. I'll get this fixed right up," Midge said, taking the shoe and giving Nora a wink. "Great. Not only am I being served to the prince on a platter, but now I compete for his attention? How did I get here?" Nora thought. "Oh yeah, a unicorn," she remembered. Midge came back out with a fixed shoe. There was no indication anything had ever been wrong. Joni planted a kiss on Midge's cheek before hurrying out the door. Once Nora was alone with the ladies in the shop again, she observed them. "So, you're fairies?" she asked. "Yes, dear, that's right," Midge replied. Nora nodded, then got distracted by two other ladies carrying a poof of blue fabric out from the back room. They turned it upright and hung it on a rack to show Nora the most beautiful gown she's ever seen. A square-lined neck topped the fitted bodice that was covered in jewels and led into a full skirt. Nora's jaw dropped. "Okay, well, let's strap you in there and see what we need to adjust. Time is of the essence," Midge shouted. Nora soon found herself undressed from her yoga pants and then fastened into the gorgeous blue dress. She spun around, looking at herself in the mirror. "Oh, if this is mine, then Ivan is forgiven for handing me over to a stranger," Nora declared. The ladies ran around, tucking and pinning, before getting Nora back out of the dress and into a robe. The dress was retaken to the back as Nora plopped in a chair. She was groomed and plucked, curled and glossed, and eventually the dress came back out. This time, when Nora looked in the mirror, she hardly recognized herself. "You're stunning," Midge announced. The other ladies held each other's hands and nodded agreement with Midge. Just then, one of the ladies ran to the front of the shop. "Nora, your ride is here," she announced. Nora, Midge, and the rest followed to see a sleek black sedan parked out front. "What, no unicorn-drawn carriage to bring me to the castle for the ball?" Nora asked sarcastically. "Don't be silly, child. This isn't a fairy tale. We have cars," Midge scolded, but she was smiling. The ladies helped Nora get in the car in her dress, and soon she was off. The car wove through the island, passing building after intricate building. It twisted around the shoreline, where merpeople did, in fact, sit on rocks. The vehicle wound around pastures of unicorns, Pegasus, and other mythical creatures, grazing openly on the plush green grass. Nora's excitement grew with each turn the car took. Eventually, the sedan entered a line of vehicles. Nora looked out the window, and her eyes widened at the sight of the magnificent castle. The sedan pulled up to the front of the line, and a uniformed guard opened Nora's door and offered her his hand to help her out. She thanked the guard as she stared at the striking scene before her. Mythical figures of all types greeted each other with affection and respect. Nora could pick out some of the so-called worlders, like herself, and saw expressions of pure delight on their faces. They were genuinely happy to be here on the island. Nora gathered her skirt and proceeded up the steps into the grand entrance of the castle. She scanned the crowd, looking for Ivan, but was quickly ushered into a gigantic ballroom. An orchestra lined one wall, playing classical music. Waiters of all types wandered through the growing population, offering drinks and hors d'oeuvres. Children ran in between all the adults, and some occupied the middle of the ballroom, swinging each other around. Nora again looked for Ivan, but he was nowhere to be seen. She recognized Joni, the woman with a broken shoe, and went over to say hello. "You look amazing," Joni told her. "Thank you. And you do as well," Nora replied, "especially without the limp," she said, making both women laugh. "I heard a rumor that Prince Ivan Sapphire is supposed to be here. I guess that casts out the rest of us," Joni confided. Nora felt the blood drain from her face. "Prince Ivan's Sapphire?" she questioned. "Yes. Legend has it, a prediction was made when the prince was a baby, that when he was ready to rule the land, a woman would appear to rule at his side. He would find someone strong and beautiful, yet humble. She would be intelligent, logical, and innovative, while caring and able to do what is right for the island overall, not just in her best interest." Nora found a chair and sunk into it. "Honey, are you okay?" Joni asked. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Nora didn't have time to answer before the trumpets blared, announcing the royal family's arrival. The king and queen were introduced, followed by none other than Ivan, the Prince of Pandoc Island. The king welcomed everyone to the castle and led everyone to sing happy birthday to the prince. He then announced the first dance should commence, and the single women of the land should present themselves. Ivan then took the microphone from his father and announced that it would not be necessary. A murmur went through the crowd as Ivan scanned over the faces. "Nora, are you here, my sapphire?" he asked over the crowd. Joni gripped onto Nora's arm in glee. "It's you! You're the chosen one!" she squealed. A smile spread across Nora's face as she made her way to the front of the crowd of single women. Ivan's eyes widened as he saw her. "You're breathtaking," he said, earning him a series of "aww" from the female population of the room. He made his way down the riser, stopping in front of Nora and offering his hand. "May I have this dance?" he asked. "You may," Nora replied, placing her hand in his. The orchestra began as Ivan effortlessly swung Nora around the ballroom. "You, sir, have been keeping secrets from me today," Nora scolded. Ivan gave her a sheepish grin. "I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you, but we seemed to be having a decent time when you didn't know who I was. I wanted that to last for a while." "I understand," Nora said. "But tell me, today I've met unicorns and fairies, heard of wizards and leprechauns. What exactly are you?" Ivan laughed. "My family and I are worlders. I was born here, but before my arrival, my parents discovered this population and inhabited this deserted island to create a haven for the mythical. The magic makers created the barrier to keep out the danger of whoever may stumble upon it. In exchange for creating their haven, the population here appointed my parents as their leaders. When I was born, my mother asked the enchantress to protect my heart, so I may rule as they have and keep the island safe. I would only give my heart to someone worthy, who would see my parents' vision. And here you are!" Nora nodded, processing the information. "I know this is sudden and a lot to take in, but I would like it if we could spend more time together. You may go home, of course. You can come and go as you please, if you'd like, until one day perhaps you will be ready to lead at my side," Ivan offered. Nora had decided about staying in Pandoc on the way there before she knew about Ivan, the prince. "I have some things to take care of in my little world, and I'm not ready to lead a country or marry you yet, but I think I could be one day. I want to stay and see what happens." "Well, then tomorrow we shall return to your land, and I will assist in whatever you need. Then we can bring your belongings back here and start a new life. For tonight, we can dance." Nora nodded and smiled. "Happy birthday, Prince," she said as she rose on her toes to place a kiss on Ivan's lips. "Best birthday ever," Ivan declared. Nora stayed the night in a guest room of the castle. In the morning she was surprised to find Joni with a change of clothes. "I heard you might need to borrow an outfit for the day," she smiled. Once Nora was presentable, she met Ivan, who was waiting with a large SUV and driver. They got in the vehicle and flew back through the barrier onto the property of Nora's subdivision. Nora gathered together the information she needed and got in her own car headed to her office. "Where have you been, young lady?" Mr. Stencoach met her outside his office. "I was gathering some information to present to you," Nora said with her head held high. "All right, well, make it quick and get back to work. We can discuss your absence later," the man said, shuffling paper around his messy desk. "No, sir, I'm afraid we cannot." Nora's statement piqued the interest of the older man. "What did you say to me?" he asked. "This will be our last discussion, as I quit. Here is my resignation effective immediately." Nora handed him an envelope. "Also," she continued, "here is all my work on the project Colin presented to you, and you implemented yesterday morning. You will discover the notes are dated and go back to before Colin was a thought in this office. The work he presented was mine. He stole it from me when he spent the night at my house before I learned he was married." Mr. Stencoach was staring at Nora wide-eyed and open-mouthed. "You can't just quit," he said. "You were lucky to get this job. I did you a favor. What do you plan to do for money now?" "Well, sir, it turns out that outside of this office my attributes are recognized, and I have a much more fruitful offer on the table, so I'll be taking it. I'm here to get my personal belongings." Nora turned and left the office. She was packing up her belongings when she heard Mr. Stencoach bellow from his doorway, "Colin, my office, now!" Nora smiled all the way to the elevator. Back at home, Nora found the fairies packing up her house and some of the guards loading the SUV. "Have you gotten everything situated?" Ivan asked her. "Yes, and it feels fantastic," Nora admitted. "Good," Ivan said. He took Nora's hand and led her to the SUV as the last of her belongings were loaded up. The caravan returning to the castle was a sight to see, and the entire island gathered around the streets cheering in parade fashion. Nora smiled as she looked out into the friendly faces. She had made her decision on a whim, but her heart knew she was where she's meant to be. The car door was held open, and they stepped out and gathered in the castle's throne room. Nora greeted the king and queen, who welcomed her with open arms. A sapphire tiara was placed on Nora's head as she took her spot next to Ivan as Pandak Island's new princess. The end. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, please be sure to give it a like, and I would love if you would leave a comment. I very much look forward to reading what you have to say. Thank you.